In the celestial realms, icy clouds all around, a feeling of flight under the beating of wings. A flash between the clouds reveals the sunlight and pockets of floating rocks that support beautiful castles, as if sculpted by the hands of the gods themselves. Distantly, and all around, angelic figures. Legions of angels, like birds, traverse the skies among magnificent cities. Emerging from the darkness as if being reborn, your eyes open. An intense flapping of wings takes control of your body's movement. When you look, fabulous structures, guided by the hands of the angels themselves, are hidden in an infinite ocean of clouds. As you look around, it's possible to perceive marvelous angelic figures gathering around you as they traverse the heavens. Gradually, and almost instantly, they become aware of your arrival on this plane. But suddenly, a deep sense of sadness seems to overwhelm you. Below, black clouds emerge, and a reddish glow brings forth the horrifying vision of the opening of a portal to hell, much like the ethereal maw of a grotesque creature. A strong air current, like the pull of a mighty lung, draws you down forcefully, and now you find yourself falling, deprived of your ability to fly. The clouds become thicker and thicker as you plummet toward this whirlwind of fire, and the clouds seem to part as horrifying sounds begin to fill your ears. You descend and descend and descend, and can feel as the flames begin to touch you, taking over your body. You watch as the feathers of your wings turn into smoldering ashes, and you become a ball of fire heading towards the ground. An intense wind takes hold of your body, and you emerge from the sky directly from a thick and stormy layer of black clouds. Gradually, you can see again amid the black, sooty mists. Slowly, a desolate land appears below. You spin 1, 2, 3 times in the air. You are no longer on fire, but you leave a trail of smoke while trying unsuccessfully to control your fall. The surroundings spin, and you find yourself upside down countless times as you fall, and fall. Desperate and powerless, you begin to observe a sea of black, muddy lands intersected by rivers of blood and seas of magma on all sides. Terrible creatures that seem to have come from nightmares are everywhere beneath you. Amid the chaotic scene, entire forests of dead and charred trees surround a sinister fortress of black glass and obsidian, rising above a small portion of stone, perched on the edge of a vast abyss that extends in a crack from one side to the other of the horizon. Your fall has this fortress as its final destination, and you approach it rapidly until you finally reach its gates. Suddenly, with the impact, your vision darkens, and your consciousness fades, bringing relief from the excruciating pain of the incandescent fall. Suddenly, you start to regain consciousness, while you hear the clinking sound of chains being heavily dragged. The moment you wake up, you can feel your body being dragged across the ground, and an immense pain seems to take over you, bringing with it a new amalgam of pain and anguish. After a catastrophic fall from the celestial paradise directly into the deepest cycles of hell, your eyes open. Feeling the pain throughout your body, you realize that 2 hooks pierce your flesh, hooked onto your clavicle. These hooks fasten to your chest, and you are being dragged through sinister corridors of this infernal fortress by a creature that appears human in form and size, but is enveloped in chains and irons. As you are dragged, you feel the thuds of your head hitting the ground. First through a corridor, and then up a staircase. Step by step, you continue to thump and feel your heavily aching body being dragged along the ground. The eerie sound of fear, Horror and terror penetrates your ears room by room. Blood and death are constant adornments on this path. This enormous creature, strong as a giant, drags you, tethered by its chains, like a hunted prey, leaving a trail of blood in its wake. The pain is indescribable. You feel like you've ascended several floors and continue to climb as this creature carries you like a block of meat. When it seems like you've finally reached the end of the staircase, you pass through a long corridor that leads to a double door ahead. Suddenly, you can notice a partially flayed creature with pieces of its skin hanging from its body, starting to crawl on the floor in the opposite direction, coming toward you as if it's trying to escape, emerging from the dark corridor ahead. At this moment, completely concealed in the shadows, you can see a second creature emerging and dragging the flayed one back. You can clearly perceive its desperation. While it struggles to break free, the dark figure pulls the flayed one back into the shadows, making it disappear into the corridor amid screams of despair, which are gradually silenced amid dark, grim noises. With a thunderous sound, the double door swings open. It's opened by the devil hunter covered in chains, your cruel captor who drags you like a trophy. You find yourself in a massive hall. This hall is filled with enormous tables, each capable of accommodating 20 people, arranged in a cross-shaped format. On the walls of this place, you can see bizarre paintings and stained glass windows. There are pieces of human skin hanging and stretched like open dolls from one side to the other of the hall. There are signs of battle on the walls and all around. The interior of the fortress seems as infernal as the place that surrounds it. As you traverse this hall, you notice that a monstrous and grotesque feast is taking place. At least 36 demons are seated at the tables, feasting on living creatures that seem to have human faces, but their bodies are deformed. They resemble large, living larvae. You can hear these creatures being torn apart as the demons seem to gorge on them while they are still alive. Amidst this environment, and at the end of this hall, one infernal figure grabs your attention at one of the tables. A sinister and seductive devil, young and semi-human in appearance, who takes pleasure in serving a succulent piece of the living larvae to themselves. Despite her demonic and grotesque nature, she possesses a maliciously crafted body to tempt mortal souls. Her smile carries a sinister tone as she indulges in serving one of their own limbs to one of the larvae. She presents the food in front of the creature's gaping mouth, while the larva attempts to bite it. Just as the disfigured monster is about to bite into a piece of itself, she withdraws the flesh, smiling, relishing in the creature's desperation. Even as it's being devoured, it seems to be trying to strike the raw living flesh with its bites. However, when she notices your presence, her malicious smile transforms into a cold and hostile expression, as if emanating profound malevolence. The sense of aggression in her gaze is almost palpable. She releases the humanoid larva's limb she was holding, licks the blood from her own claws, and then stands up, turning her back. Moving around the table, she disappears behind the grotesque creatures. You continue to be pulled forward. The hideous demons in the hall smile, casting wicked, discreet, and envious glances from the corner of their eyes, as your doomed soul leaves a trail of blood through the center of the room, like a deadly red carpet. As you are leaving the table area, you are once again surprised by the presence of this she-devil, who appears in front of you, emerging from behind one of the enormous demons seated at the last table. Blocking your path, she pauses, her slender yet marked body seeming to be displayed to you, along with a smile she effortlessly exudes, almost as if she has no intention of doing so. She looks at you again, her eyes blazing like the flames of hellfire. Her sinister gaze shifts to the side. She then walks ahead of you and towards a massive double door behind her. This double door is adorned with protruding claws and prominent teeth, resembling a hellish mouth. As she approaches, two enormous knights in demonic armor with massive horns, faces like blackened skeletons, and eyes glowing like fire, open the doors, holding their golden halberds. The door opens, revealing a small antechamber, and in it, a double door with two heavy chains attached to each side of the wall. These chains seem to restrain two muscular and massive dogs with malicious and intelligent eyes that stare at you. Silently at first, they start to grow increasingly nervous as you begin to pass through the chamber. As you approach the double doors between the two creatures, they start growling more furiously towards you, slowly succumbing to a frenzy of rage, as if unable to contain the urge to attack. With heavy shoves and pulls, the demon keeps on dragging you by the hooks. Suddenly, and as you start to feel the breath of the infernal dogs in your face, the chained demon lets out a massive growl, intimidating the creatures. They turn towards the wall, reducing their growling, and start to eat something laid out in front of them. They are human entrails. The dogs eagerly attack the raw flesh as you pass through them, closely hearing the creatures feasting. Pieces of meat with armor are arranged on the floor with the entrails to entertain them. The infernal dogs take delight in extracting the flesh from within the armor, along with the bones. A new pair of double doors swings open loudly, allowing the devil chain hunter, accompanied by his prey and the enticing she-devil that leads the way, to enter a room. The door slams shut with a loud bang, muffling out the sounds of the feasting bestial guardians in the other side. Slowly, a flame in the dark glooms, initially colorless, then turning red and orange. It begins to reveal itself in front of you. It is a prisoner that lies fallen on the ground. With a sudden jolt, you are thrown forward like a misshapen block of meat beside him. The prisoner before you is a paladin dressed in the noblest garments of Tyr. His white mantle is completely stained with fresh blood, and his armor almost unrecognizable due to claw marks, scratches, punctures, and dented cuts. Kneeling with his body contorted inside the armor, he struggles to stand, despite bound hands and broken arms and legs. Even in this situation, the paladin still appears to maintain a proud posture. A faint golden aura seems to surround his body, as if persevering in the fight against the darkness. You can hear whispers escaping from the paladin's lips.
I will not fear the evil before me, for the radiant light of Tyr shines once more.
The dying paladin murmurs these words, like a prayer to sustain his faith. Sounds of labored breathing and choking fill the air as the paladin walks the path towards his own demise. Even shattered by the final battle, he clings to his faith, painfully repeating the mantra of the Tyr's Phalanx Knights sent to hell.
I will not fear the evil before me, for the radiant light of Tyr shines once more. I will not fear the evil before me, for the radiant light of Tyr shines once more.
He repeats this mantra 1, 2, 3 times, seemingly struggling to resist the wounds that afflict his body. This room you find yourselves in has 3 distinct areas. A massive stained glass window to your left leads to a balcony, its wide open doors revealing a fierce gale from a rain of blood outside, along with the silhouette of a shadowy figure watching the horizon. To your left and behind you, there's a woman in tattered clothing. She lies imprisoned like a caged animal, with an iron collar and chains binding her to the floor. You notice that she is pregnant, and part of her belly is exposed as her clothes are torn open. Remnants of armor that have almost been completely torn away reveal her abdomen. This woman is a half-elf, visibly beautiful, but thoroughly battered and marked by an intense battle. Covered in blood, she stares catatonically at the ground. However, at the moment you are thrown into the room, she lifts her head. Her hands scratch the floor, leaving a trail of blood as she looks in your direction while attempting to say something. Her voice comes out with difficulty, and you can see pain and agony in her eyes while she sobs. On the side, suddenly the sound of laughter seems to draw your attention. When you look to your right, you can see two succubi lying naked on a luxurious and gigantic bed. Fit for a king, covered in all sorts of fabrics, pillows, and quilts. Their gazes filled with mischief directed towards you, anticipating the spectacle that will unfold before them. Like curious children, they lie on the bed with their hands under their chins, gazing toward the scene, thoroughly entertained. The two succubi are strangely similar, with one appearing to be twice the age of the other, and their faces as alike as those of a mother and daughter. While they observe you, a dark, calm, and malevolent voice emerges from the balcony, drawing your attention to the opposite side.
Your wounds are numerous and deep, but there are no cuts for so much blood. Don't you think, Paladin?
The malicious creature raises its hand towards the falling rain, which, engulfed in flames, sizzles as the raindrops hit.
It's not my blood.
Stammers the dying paladin, coughing up blood, shocked to realize that the pure and incorruptible white garments granted by Tyr are now bathed in fresh, crimson blood. Behind you, the pregnant prisoner weeps copiously as she senses his pain, while doubt slowly tears away the faith and courage of the dying paladin. With just one sentence uttered by the shadow, slowly and catastrophically, the aura surrounding him begins to extinguish. Amidst the copious sobbing, the fragility of her voice can be heard speaking.
By the gods, it's not the blood of victims, not the blood you spilled. It's innocent blood. The blood of your brothers. Do not succumb to the poisonous breath of this monster. Not now. Not like this.
The young harpist murmurs in despair, feeling the pains of both battle and the torture she endured, tilting her head to the side in exhaustion and starting to breathe with increasing difficulty. The paladin, a moribund and exhausted knight, the last of those who sacrificed themselves alongside their leader to ensure the portal would remain closed, chokes one last time. He falls, his armor crashing against the stony floor of the profane fortress.
It is dead,
declares the grotesque voice of the devil hunter, who, at the back of his chained prey, awaited this outcome. The other prisoner, you, gathers strength to kneel and looking towards the shadowy creature says, or attempts to say, "We freed Tyr, you bastard. Take that." But at this moment, you realize that instead of your words, a disgusting gurgle of blood and pain emerges, running down your chest. Your jaw and half of your chin have been torn from your face, and your words sound distorted and incomprehensible, accompanied by spurts of blood. The searing pain has become an integral part of your agonizing breath. Surprisingly, the voice from the balcony, seemingly attuned to the prisoner's thoughts, responds,
Tyr, indeed, you have set him free.
Extending its diabolic hand with black claws, enveloped in flames of profane fire against the rain. The creature on the balcony concentrates, beginning to quell the flames surrounding its hand. As if musing aloud, the creature murmurs as the rain lessens.
Even the most absolute power can be suppressed. For a time.
The rain stops. Along with the rain, the fire that surrounded the creature's hands also ceases. Step by step, He walks onto the balcony, glances at its hands, and dips them into a stone basin, plunging its hands into a blood-red liquid. You hear the sharp hiss of the abrupt temperature loss, akin to hot metal dipped in cold water. The creature cools its hands, eyes, and throat, taking a long sip and rubbing its face in the liquid, refreshing its scorched skin. Suddenly, as if momentarily distracted or making it appear so, the creature raises its hands, looking at the palms, and begins to muse aloud.
Look at this.
The creature draws attention to a tiny leech stuck to the palm of its hand, then speaks with disdain, observing the creature attempting to pierce its skin and suck its blood.
It has no idea what's really happening or what is about to happen, but it seizes the opportunity to act the best way it can.
He twitches slightly in pain as the creature remarkably manages to penetrate his carcass, beginning to swell as it sucks blood. A smile spreads across his dark face as he observes. He then looks back suggestively in your direction and towards the paladin.
You see, with victory, the leechling grows, draining my blood and becoming stronger. But even more interesting, far too interesting to go unnoticed.
Suddenly, a crow startles everyone, diving onto his palm and swiftly swallowing the leech whole. Immediately, the blazing profane flames that had been suppressed return with intensity to the dark creature's hand, enveloping the crow in flames, burning it with intense profane fire.
For a while,
he smiles as if resuming a seemingly interrupted train of thought in the conversation. Approaching the balcony's edge and tilting its hand, the creature pours the incandescent crow and watches as it plunges, traversing the long expanse of the infernal fortress until it dives into the infinite darkness of the abyss that surrounds it. The small ball of profane fire intensifies as the cutting winds of the abyss collide with it, like a fireball plunging into the darkness. The profane creature turns towards you, slowly returning to the room where the prisoners are. He speaks as the crow burns, plummeting into the abyss behind it.
All this time you've spent in these accursed lands, and still you remain like a radiant light in the darkness.
Out of sight, the incandescent remnants of the crow plunge like a comet against the intense winds and into the darkness of the abyss. But despite the intense glow of the profane flames, it ultimately fades into the vast ocean of darkness that envelops it. The eyes of the prisoner, the condemned soul, contort as if anticipating the blow that would be delivered by the enemy's tongue. At this moment, the pregnant prisoner howls in pain, releasing a horrendous scream as she begins a spontaneous process of abortion. The sinister audience smiles in delight. A painful and frightening sight of movements in the woman's belly begins to unfold in the darkness, as if a creature is trying to emerge from within her. The dark figure approaches further, entering the room completely, letting the flames from its hands illuminate the darkness, finally revealing its face. It is Asmodeus, the Lord of the last circle of hell himself.
Did you free Tyr? Did you free Tyr from me? Or for me?
An evil laugh echoes from the luxurious bed, where the two succubi watch in fascination the scene. A mocking and malevolent smile appears on Asmodeus' face, while the prisoner howls like a wild animal in profound despair, as his mind plunges into madness. Simultaneously, the half-elf prisoner screams in terror, bathed in blood and pain, as she gives birth to a horrendous two-headed creature. Watching the scene like children entertained by a spectacle, the two succubi lying on Asmodeus' bed laugh, excited and thrilled by the cruel display of evil and pain before them. The vision slowly fades away, lost in darkness, as the grotesque sounds of pain and despair merge with laughter and moans of pleasure that echoes through the corridors of the profane fortress, leaving behind this foul and cursed place for its own nightmares.